Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. So we actually have like a little special thing that we've been meaning to do for a while.
We do a lot of stories, and some of it's frustrating, and some of it's sad.
And sometimes you just need a message of hope, something uplifting.
Pick me up, good story.
And one of our very dear viewers, Degsy, had sent me this and asked me to do it quite some time ago, and I looked into it and I thought, yes, this is exactly something that I would love to do, and we haven't had the time to do it. So here we are bringing this to you. A lot of you may be aware of Sir Nicholas Winton. I was not. He was a Brit that ended up helping to save or set free 669 mostly Jewish children from Nazi Germany. So I just want to give you kind of like a little bit of a backstory. He was born in 1909 in Hampstead, London, of German Jewish descent, and then he converted to Christianity and was baptized. He entered school in 1923 and left without graduating. However, entered night school while working for Midland Bank. He became a banker and worked in the UK, Germany, and France, where he gained his qualifications, and then returned to the UK to work at the stock exchange as a broker. He is quoted as saying, if something isn't blatantly impossible, then there must be a way of doing it. He died at the age of 106, which I think is phenomenal, in 2015. And Degsy said, I remember the news of his death breaking, although I was not aware of the details behind this modest guy who was a Christian and had a heart of gold. In 1938, he was due to go on a skiing holiday when he received a call from his friend in Prague. Nicky Winton went to Prague and in 1939 saved 669 mainly Jewish children from Czechoslovakia, which was under occupation by Nazi Germany. While risking his own life, he organized train transports of the children from the endangered area to Great Britain, which was not yet affected by the war. There, he found new homes for them and allowed them to start a new safe life. He never talked about his deed, and had it not been for his wife, who in 1988 by chance discovered the documents about the whole operation, his heroic act would be forever hidden from the eyes of the public and the saved children. So I want to play you this. It's called What Will Your Legacy Be? The Story of Sir Nicholas Winton. It's really, really moving. 1938.
Are we up all the way?
I don't know, we could probably go up higher. If not, we can turn it up down there. Europe is on the brink of war. Hitler's armies have marched into the borderlands of Czechoslovakia. Stories of persecution are creeping out of Germany. 150,000 minority refugees flee to Prague. One young Londoner hears the story and travels to Prague. His actions echoed into a generation. Nicholas Winton. What a brave guy. It's so phenomenal. I could never...
When he got there,
This is his daughter.
Various committees trying to help get out these endangered adults, and going around the refugee camps for refugees from the Sudetenland, found lots of families there, lots of children there, and discovered that there was no real mechanism for trying to help get children out.
I work on the motto that if something's not impossible, there must be a way of doing it.
And having been told that this was going to be very difficult, he found that it wasn't very difficult as long as he fulfilled certain of their requirements, one of which was a £50 guarantee, which would pay for the re-emigration after the war.
Also, they had to find
This is one of the survivors.
willing to take
One
in
of the children.
1 or 2 children. They had to arrange the paperwork. And that, when I talk about the paperwork, this is the paperwork. This is the paperwork. Last of all, they had to wait for transportation. And that's why we're being held there.
Over the course of 9 months, Nicholas Winton arranged for the immigration and transport by train of children from the Czech camps to the safety of Britain.
I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room to 10 Downing Street. This country is at war with Germany.
They were all at the station, even on the train waiting to go. And war was declared, so the train never left. Never heard really what happened to all those children.
Nothing was mentioned of his actions for over 50 years. Until in 1988, the BBC found his story.
But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight, and I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton. Is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton?
Is there anyone in our audience tonight that owes their life to Nicholas Winton? He had no clue. I get goosebumps. I've seen this like 5 times. I get goosebumps every time I see it. No clue. Yeah, I get goosebumps all over again. The entire audience is full of these children that he saved. Can you imagine? Look at this. They didn't show it in this clip, but there's another clip where you really, I mean, he gets really emotional. Or maybe they will hear in a minute, yeah. I mean, wow. 669 children, one man.
They've got children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
They've got children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. 3 generations on. Over 6,000 people owe their lives to him. What will our legacy be? So there is a longer, I think it's a 60-minute video that we couldn't do here. I really wanted to, but it's like 15 minutes long. And I'm going to link to that in the description, and I want each and every one of you to click on that and watch it. It is so moving. It's so powerful. It gives a lot more detail as far as what went on, and he had to kind of, I think, forge some of these documents and papers for these children, and he was really putting his own life on the line and at risk there, and it just blows me away. And I chose this one, what will our legacy be, what will your legacy be, for a reason, because here at Resistance Chicks, we're in a moment where, in the world, where we need to be making stances like this, where we put our own lives on the line to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how it's going to affect us in our own lives, you have to do the right thing. And we have to constantly be going back to stories like this where we can be like, okay, that person did that, I can do it too. What was that movie that we went and saw in the theaters several months ago? About I think it was the World War I guy or World War II guy, where he goes up and he just constantly, oh my gosh, I feel like the worst reporter ever because I can't even remember a movie that I saw.
Yeah, it was a movie directed by Mel Gibson, and there's a man who, for conscientious reasons, wouldn't carry a gun.
He was a conscientious objector as far as,
but he saved the lives of so many. It's a very powerful movie. We'll try to link to that if I can come up with the title.
This is so terrible. I feel awful. But regardless, like Leah said, we'll put it in the description. We can always do that. But my point is, when you see stories like that of heroism and you realize whatever I can do on my little plot of land and my little life that God has given me, I want to affect as many people as possible positively. And with that conscientious objector, I mean, he really put his life on the line, literally.
And it was faith.
And it was his faith in God.
I think we're missing a lot.
This guy, and Nicholas Winton, had converted to Christianity, and I really believe that it was his faith in God that allowed him to carry this through.
There's a couple things that run through my mind right now, because we're in a crosshairs right now where it's kind of like the term refugee has been so muddied
And abused.
and so abused, and it's the boy who cried wolf, right? So when there are real refugees,
Right.
then we question and we second guess ourselves.
Right.
And you know, I have another story which I was going to do today. I still might do real quick on a boatload of African male migrants, healthy African male migrants who just came over because they just didn't like their economic situation. And when you have people receiving them with the same emotional stance,
Right.
with the same putting your life on the line,
Right.
you actually
Negate real hardship. and
what you're
they went
doing
through.
is actually taking the spot of somebody who really needs help.
Because there
somebody
are
who
so
is
many refugees that do
persecuted,
need help.
Somebody who needs to
Yeah.
flee a dangerous situation.
Right.
And when we talk about refugee, our definition in America is a refugee is somebody who is fearing for their life for usually religious persecution.
Exactly.
Or ideological persecution.
Right.
And so we have to be able to differentiate and not close our hearts to real refugees, like
Because we've been jaded to what has been happening. with-
Christians who have to leave certain Middle Eastern countries because their lives are on the line, because their homes are being taken, because you know, they are being persecuted, highly persecuted. And we have right now Christians, and Mike Pence just met with Franklin Graham, and they talked about how Christians are the #1 persecuted religion in the world today.
Right.
And
it's not allowed to be talked about.
on our Resistance Chicks Facebook page, I was stunned to and I'm going to bring it up, and I guess I'm going to call somebody out, unfortunately. I was kind of a little bit stunned to see this kind of reaction to the women in Iran, that my stealthy freedom, we will plug them until they ask us to stop plugging them, which I don't think it's going to be ever. I think I might have, I don't know if I showed you guys this, but
Do you want to cover this in another segment, or do you want to do it now?
I'm just going to kind of
Okay,
show
that's
the difference. These women filmed themselves being arrested because they didn't have a shirt or their coat buttoned right. And my coat is too short. Why is your coat unbuttoned? And I shared this, and I said, Dear liberal feminist women in the West, where are you on all of this morality police craziness? Women arrested trying to film the encounter, your coat is too short. There was a woman who fled Saudi Arabia. She said, my life is on the line. Please don't send me back. Please don't send me back. And she got sent back. And I don't know, we don't know what happened to her. I'm sure she was persecuted, put in prison, or killed. And we have to be able to, when those people get out of those situations, and they ask for asylum,
Right.
we have to be able to give them those, and we have to be able to open
Absolutely.
up our doors,
Hands down.
because when your life is on the line, you're going to be so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that those children who were saved
Yes.
assimilated into whatever culture that they were put into. They were
The
grateful.
British culture, I'm sure.
They were grateful. They became part of the culture. When you go in expecting something, it's kind of like when somebody knocks on your door. And I've had this happen when I've been downtown. Homeless people, they'll knock on your window,
Right.
and you say, listen, sometimes we give money away, but sometimes I don't have any cash on me.
And sometimes you just get a feeling. We go by the Holy Spirit. Should we help this person
And
or
I
not?
remember this black guy, sorry if I'm not racially profiling, but he knocked on my window, and he looked rather nicely dressed. It was around Christmas time. And he knocked on my window, and he says, you have some money? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash on me. And he started to yell at me and was like, yes, you do. Give me your money. And I'm just like, what in the world? You know what? I mean, and I've seen people down on their luck, people who just needed a hamburger and were grateful for that.
Right.
Those are the people that you want to give to, not to the
Right.
people who are like, I'm going to mug you if you don't give to me. And so,
And it's not a color thing, because there are white people. This was actually in Newport. It's across the river from Cincinnati. There are white people that do the same thing.
so
It's
we're
just,
talking about
it's
Iran,
bad
we're
down
talking
there.
about Islam, and somebody somebody says this, horrendous when religious fundamentalists are permitted to take leadership of a nation and allowed to blur the lines between church and state. It is always women who pay the highest price. And so they put this thing here. Fundamentalist Christians want America to be a country that has deep reverence for God. Problem with that? A faith-based government, extremely strict limitations on abortion, marriage strictly defined as man and woman, homosexuality illegal and punishable, all schools focused on religious education, a culture that enforces preconceived roles for men, women, and children. Such countries already exist, Iran, for example. So basically what they're saying is, yeah, that's kind of bad, but look what they've done for fundamentalist Christians in America, what they want to do it. They don't actually care about the women in Iran.
Right. They just want to use it to push their
They
own
just don't
personal.
want Christians in America. And that
Here's the difference between the things that were listed in that list, if I may take one moment.
And somebody else said, say that in a second. I think it's impossible to call out all injustices around the world. And of course, to some extent, it is not our place to interfere with other cultures. We can only go so far. It is not our place to invade and drop bombs because of every injustice. So, go ahead.
So the things that point, you don't have to go back to that because we're not going to do that one.
Well, I just want to leave something up.
Okay. That stick out to me on the things that were listed there. A deep faith in God. If the Muslim countries just had a deep faith in Allah, no problem. I don't have a problem with that. If they actually want to educate their children in a faith or a religion that is peaceful, I really don't even have a problem with that. There are several other countries that do that. I mean, Hindus, they teach their children all kind of religions. I don't have a problem with that. Whatever you want to do. Teach your children, because our founding fathers actually said that any religion is better than no religion. Okay? But meaning most religions are actually peaceful outside of Islam.
Teach it, like even Buddhism or Hinduism
Exactly.
have a morality that teaches you.
I don't know of...
You ever heard of Chinese proverbs?
Any...
Wash your hands or you may get sick.
Right. I don't know of any
A dirty
Christians
hand causes-
personally,
Sorry.
and most of my friends are Christians, that actually would like to see homosexuals punished. So I think that goes for most of the Christians in the United States. Nobody wants to see a homosexual punished. If you want to be a homosexual, nobody cares. Do your thing. All right? So that was a misnomer. Marriage being defined as a man and woman, yeah, that's kind of the way that it is. That's what marriage means. If you want to have something separate for homosexuals, that's just, you can't just take the definition of the sky is blue and say, no, I don't want it to be blue. Okay, that's what it is. Abortion, we have covered this on Resistance Chicks so many times. We're actually trying to stop the murder, okay, of a child. So I don't see how that is a problem, whereas Islam is okay with murdering people. They're okay with cutting off hands. They're okay with throwing homosexuals off of buildings. They're okay with female genital mutilation, which is actually different than circumcision, way different. Cutting off someone's sexual organ is different than cutting off a little flap that's going to get infected throughout the rest of their lives. All right, so we're not comparing apples to apples here, lady. And so unfortunately, you don't have a good understanding of either religion that you're bringing to the table, and I'm really sorry. But if I were you, as a commenter, I would only leave comments on things that I understand. I'm just saying, because you don't understand. You're just kind of going by what the MSM, the mainstream media, feeds you these lies about what Christians want in the United States. We just want a peaceful United States. That's it. We want morality. There's nothing wrong
and freedom to
with
practice our
morality,
religion, and love God. And yes, we prefer real Christians because we're real Christians, and what we do every day, we're not perfect.
No,
but we strive to be kind, to be generous,
right,
to be loving.
Christian principles. Thomas Jefferson is quote unquote the atheist. They love to call him an atheist. He actually wasn't, but they love to tout him as such. And he is quoted as saying, Christian morality of Jesus Christ should be taught to all children because guess what? It makes for a good, healthy society. It's just that simple.
Christian principles, you guys. I'm going to say it. I'll say it every day. The fruits of the spirit of a Christian are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Exactly.
Self-control. Exactly. And all of our founding fathers practiced these. Now, they used their intellect. They used their mind. And they were guided by these principles and by the internal principles. And the difference between Islam's heaven and our heaven, and I'm going to explain this to you. Islam's heaven is about sensuality and fulfilling one's flesh.
It's all about me, myself.
And for a Christian, heaven is about being rewarded for the good deeds that you do, having a crown and for what you do in heaven. It's about, and a lot of Christians will be like, faith, you're saved by faith. Yes, but when you do good things, you're laying up treasures in heaven, and you know that there is a system, and this is what our founding fathers talked about. I want people to know that there's a system of rewards and punishments, because when you do things in secret, you recognize somebody may not see it, but
right.
God sees.
Exactly.
And
without having Christian morals are so great, whether it's real or not. Because if you believe that there's a God that's watching out for you or watching you it's kind of like Santa Claus. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you've done something good or bad. Without that, there's no reason. There is literally no reason to do the good thing when nobody's looking.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so the point is in Islam you have this sensuality and this flesh-filling thing. Is not about giving to other people, it's about taking to yourself.
And to be a good Muslim, you wage jihad in order to get to that heaven.
And in order to be a good Christian, you
give to other
poor,
people, you help other people.
You take care of the widow. And I realize that not all Christians do this.
And I realize that not all Muslims want to wage jihad, but the basis, the fundamentals of the Quran versus the Bible, they don't even come anywhere close to the same thing.
Right. The original, the first teachings of Muhammad, he started out like all peaceful and then he just went jihadi and talked about the good way to beat your wife and things like that. So anyways,
and then he married and had sex with like a 5 or 8 year old.
7 years old.
Whatever she was.
So my point is that in the midst of all of this craziness, we have to be able to think clearly. The Bible says not to cast your pearls before swine. And I hate to turn this really great story around, but I can hear people's brains going in two different directions. Their train and their brain. Like migrants, refugees, do we let them in? Do we not let them in? But what about these kids? This is a great story. Right. We should do this. We should have done this. This is right.
As a matter of fact, to be perfectly honest, even though we have shown videos of the little tiny Muslim children being trained as jihadists, if we were dealing strictly with bringing in Muslim children, I would readdress what we're looking at. We are bringing in right now all the nations around the world are bringing in healthy, young, single males.
Right.
Not children, not even women, not even old people.
And a few of them are persecuted, and so I do believe they should be screened. Some of them are Christians. Mm-hmm. Some of them are persecuted, and they should be screened because they can't just go to a Muslim country or they will be persecuted.
Right.
So anyways.
So, Degsy, I know he wanted to bring this as a story of hope where there's so much negativity and then we kind of ended up turning it, and I'm really sorry. But keep it with the message of hope, because there is a reason. What will your legacy be to do the things when this guy, Nicholas Winton, had no reason to ever think that anybody was ever going to find out that he did this, and he did it anyway. As a matter of fact, he probably kept it a secret just because he knew that his reward was in heaven if nobody knew.
The Bible says don't let your left hand know what your right hand does when you go to give.
Exactly. So I want you guys to take this to heart, because we can make a change, we can make a difference, and we can help those refugees that really need it. Okay, guys? So, thank you, Christian Bikers for the World. That's Degsy's group. We love you all. Big thumbs up and shout out to you guys. You are fantastic. So thanks for being viewers and sticking with us. This is Leah Michelle signing off for Resistance Chicks, where it is not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring that bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. We love you. God loves you. God bless. And God bless Sir Nicholas Winton, because I know that man is in heaven with his crown of glory.
And a lot of people.
And a lot of other people. And 6,000 people owe their lives to him.
Yes.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid. But you called me.